Okay. So today is the first um, face-to-face meeting that we'll have. Um, the next one is going to be on October 31st, Halloween. So I expect all of you to come dressed up for our next Zoom meeting. Um, in between then, you will be completing a few assignments on our Google Classroom, and I will be facilitating it, and I'll be helping you troubleshoot. I'll be giving you feedback, and um, you'll be able to like post and see each other's discussion board posts. So you'll be engaging with each other at the same time. Here's our agenda for today. Um, I'll explain a little bit about my organization, the Delaware County Literacy Council. We're actually in Pennsylvania, even though we're called Delaware County. Um, I'll talk a little bit about the state of adult education and adult ESL learners. And then I'll talk a little bit about student-centered learning and what that looks like and what that means, especially for learners who are trying to learn a new language. And then finally, I will give us some time to write mission statements, and they're just going to be really short mission statements. And the reason why I want us to write them today is so that you can practice uploading it onto our Google Classroom. And so that will be the first assignment that you'll complete in Google Classroom. Okay, so for you, your objectives for today is to be able to identify some strategies to make your instruction student-centered. And then you're going to put that into your mission statement. And finally, I want you to walk away from this and be able to navigate the Google Classroom modules. So the one thing you'll be doing today is you'll be uploading your mission statement onto our Google Classroom. Um, and usually the students that are taking that program, they're trying to get their GED or a high school equivalency so that they can get better employment. Um, our second program is our Community English as a Second Language program. A lot of our students there um, are trying to help their children um, participate more fully in their schools. So they're trying to help their children with their homework assignments. Some of them are trying to get into college. So that's a little bit about who our ESL learners are. And then finally, we have this program called the IELCE. It's a super long acronym, and it basically is a class where ESL learners are studying English as well as another skill um, so that they can be fast-tracked um, into um, a certified nursing assistant program. Um, and now I want to talk a little bit about why adult education is so important, especially during these times. Pennsylvania just slashed um, the budget for adult education, and I know Philadelphia was trying to completely gut their budget, and I'm sure it's happening across the entire country and different states and locales. Um, so we are in more desperate need for help right now. So just some quick facts about the state of adult education. More than 36 million adults in the United States cannot read, write, or do basic math above a third grade level. And 68% of programs like ours are struggling trying to accommodate students. Low literacy costs the United States $225 billion a year in loss of productivity. And low literacy is a cyclical problem. Students or children who have parents who have low literacy skills also tend to have low literacy skills as they grow up. These children are more likely to get poor grades and display behavior problems or drop out of high school. So that was a little bit about the state of adult education in the United States. Um, what about in Philadelphia? Who are the adult ESL learners in the Philadelphia metro area? These are our main students. So if you are tutoring with us, either on site, face-to-face in the future, or if you're doing it virtually, you'll most likely encounter a student from the Philadelphia metropolitan area. Um, so 30% of adult immigrants in the Philly metro area had little schooling, but at the same time, 30% also have college degrees. So they have diverse educational experiences. And to kind of try to illustrate what that means, you might get a student who completed their college degree back in their home country, and maybe they never were able to practice speaking English, so maybe they have really low English speaking skills, um, but maybe they were able to practice a lot of reading in their um, university, so they have really strong um, reading skills, reading and writing skills. Um, so what I'm trying to say is that just because you encounter a learner who has really low speaking skills, um, that does not necessarily mean that they also did not receive, uh, a traditional education in their home countries, right? Um, so oftentimes, language learners who have low English speaking skills, they get mistaken for being uneducated. Um, so that's not always the case. Definitely don't kind of stereotype your learner that way. But you also might encounter learners who didn't receive a lot of formal education, but they've been in the United States for a while and they have been speaking a lot. And so maybe their speaking skills are advanced, but maybe they haven't been practicing reading and writing. So maybe the reading and writing is limited. Um, so they can have very different educational backgrounds. And to kind of illustrate how diverse our learners are, this is the population wheel of students that we serve. So we have a lot of students from Mexico, a lot of students from Ecuador. We also have students from Haiti, students from China, right? So, I mean, you can see the myriad of nationalities being represented here. This is a picture from my class. This is at an intermediate unit, which basically helps um, local schools who have maybe students with special needs or other services. That intermediate unit provides those services for them. And so all of these are parents of students in the local school districts. And this was my classroom, and you can see, they're from so many different countries. Some had really little formal education back home. They didn't finish their middle school or high school, but I also had students with graduate degrees, I had engineers and computer scientists in my class. So it's a very diverse group. But there is one consistent trend, even among our diversity of English language learners, and that's that they're growing. They're a population that's growing and will continue to grow. This is in the Philadelphia area, but I know that in the south of the United States and on the West Coast, there's a lot of immigrant communities that are growing. And so I just talked a bit about the diversity of learners that you might encounter. So I want to give you a chance to talk amongst each other about this activity. And the activity is, how are you going to get to know your learner? How are you going to decide who your learner, or not decide who they are, but what their needs might be. So you're going to imagine yourself in a language learner's shoes. And I'm going to copy and paste this link in the chat for you. And there are some speaking prompts here. So later you're going to pull this up and you're going to talk in your breakout room groups. And you're going to decide, all right, so let's say you are a language learner and you're going to Turkey. What might be your immediate language learning needs and goals? Okay. And then these are the 3 different scenarios. And you can start with number 1 and then move your way down to 2 and 3. And so I'm going to paste this link for you in the chat so that you can pull it up when you're speaking in your groups. Okay, do you all see that link pop up?
Mm-hmm.
So you're just gonna put it into your web browser. And then you're gonna see this. So I'm gonna give you 10 minutes to talk in your groups. Welcome back, everyone. So let's share back with the larger group about what you discussed. For the first scenario, you're going to Turkey for a month-long vacation. Diamonds group, can you let us know what you talked about?
I guess I can go since you said my name. So we talked about learning the cultural etiquette, learning basic language skills, um, understanding like the directions, the currency, just having like a mini guide,
Mm-hmm.
just like basic language skills. That's pretty much it.
Great, great, excellent.
Thank you.
Um, for the second scenario, you get a new job with a healthcare company based in Turkey. Some of your colleagues don't understand English. Anna's group.
So in our group, we discussed that it's important to meet our colleagues halfway. So if they don't understand English, we should definitely make the effort to learn some Turkish terminologies for medical terms. And so we thought that it was important just to meet them halfway, understand and communicate the needs of a healthcare company, and basically translate what we know in English into Turkish speaking language.
Great, excellent. And then finally, you're moving to Turkey with your 10-year-old child because you will be telecommuting with your company in the United States. You can continue speaking English with your colleagues. However, your child will be enrolled in a Turkish-speaking school. I'm not sure if anyone was able to get to this third scenario. Would anyone like to volunteer for this one?
I'll volunteer.
Who's that?
Linda, you're muted, Linda.
Muted.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, I thought
Yeah.
I thought I unmuted it. I'm a retired second grade teacher, so I had a lot of students coming from other countries, mainly Africa, and it was a scenario of the parents could not understand the papers that were coming home from their children, notes coming from the teachers, conferences. You know, the parents had to wait to talk to a neighbor who could interpret for them. Students trying to tell their parents what was going on during the day, but it was their idea of what was going on, not necessarily because, you know, the children were young. So it wasn't always what really happened, that kind of thing. So that's a big one. Big one, in, especially inner city schools.
Great. So you would want to learn like language for parent-teacher conferences and
Yes.
vocabulary that's related to the forms that you might receive from your school or from your.
Something would be sent home almost every day. So there's a lot of reading that would be involved that someone who can't speak English they need to be able to read what's coming home.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Thanks for sharing. So you all gave us some really great points. The first group mentioned, you know, if you're gonna go on a vacation, you just need some basic language skills, like how to ask for directions, or how to talk about the currency, right? The second group mentioned trying to meet your colleagues halfway so that you can kind of communicate and create that type of bond and relationship with your colleagues. And because it's a healthcare company, you would want to study like specific medical terms. And then finally, Linda's group mentioned, okay, if your learner is trying to participate more fully in their child's schooling, they would need to know how to read the forms that they'll get and the documents that the school will be sending, and language that they can use to communicate with their children's teachers at like a parent-teacher conference. And those are all very specific things that we can be teaching our learners. And they are all different. All of those things that you mentioned are different because all of these learners are different. And that's the most important thing when it comes to teaching, is to understand who our learners are and what their immediate needs are. And that's really, really important, especially for adults, because if adults can't see the value in learning something, an immediate value, they'll lose motivation quickly.
Yep.
For children, it's a little different, you know, because they're in school all day, and maybe they're understand, you know, they're more future oriented. They don't have to worry about finding food tomorrow or making sure that their bills are paid. Whereas if you're an adult and you are working you're working a job or multiple jobs and you're trying to take care of your kids, you really need to see some immediate uh, some immediate justifications for learning, you know, whatever lesson it is that you're going to be learning next week. And so hopefully that discussion was helpful in getting all of us to think about that. And that leads us to the idea of student-centered learning, right? When we're teaching, we should always be thinking about who our students are, what their immediate needs are. And this is something that I Googled this and looking for student-centered learning. On the right here, this is kind of like a metaphor for the traditional classroom. And on the left, this is kind of the more new age classroom. This is, if you walk into the classroom today, you'll more likely see this, especially in young classrooms, and you'll less likely see this. So just think to yourself right now, which of these classrooms do you think more embodies a student-centered approach to learning?
The one on the left.
Mm-hmm. The one on the left?
Yeah, because this is more student. Well, on the right, the teacher is the focus of attention. On the left, it's the groups of students, and they can communicate with each other and probably bounce off ideas off each other. And then the teacher can chime in. The teacher can understand the dynamics in each group and kind of facilitate from there.
Great, great. And I like that word that you used, facilitate. And that really speaks to, what is really happening. On the left, the teacher is just a facilitator, just making sure that the students are on tasks and helping them out when they need help. Whereas on the right, the teacher is kind of the main director. The teacher manages every single student, makes sure that they're all following, the orders that they need to be following. And the communication is very much a one-way communication, right? On the right, all of the knowledge and the experience is held by the teacher, and then the teacher disseminates that knowledge and experience to all of the students individually. Whereas on the left, like Curtis mentioned, the teacher is more of a facilitator. They're collaborating with the students. They're helping them out as the students are working with each other, right? And what's happening on the left is that maybe the instructor or the teacher is modeling, and then the students are interacting with both each other and with the instructor. Whereas on the right, the instructor talks and the students never get to talk, they just listen. On the left, the instructor again provides feedback when the questions arise, whereas on the right, the instructor is constantly monitoring and correcting every single mistake or utterance. In a language learning classroom, on the left, the language use might seem more authentic. Whereas on the right, it's more focused on grammar and specific forms and structures. And that is not to say that the one on the left is always the right classroom to implement. We know that in a lot of lecture settings where you have 200 students, it's a lot harder to do this on the left, right? If you are teaching like a biology class and you really just need to disseminate information, maybe the most efficient way to do it is just the one on the right. Whereas if you're doing like a biology lab, it might work better on the left because you have to give your students opportunities to practice and to actually do hands-on experiments. So again, it really depends on the purpose of what you as the instructor is trying to do. In the language learning classroom, however, the one on the right is not as efficient, is never as efficient. In a language learning classroom, we always want to strive for the one on the left. Why is that?
I guess because you're communicating with more people at once. You're not just listening to one person speak.
Yes, great, great. And that was Rich?
Yeah.
Great, exactly. Because in order to learn a language, you have to communicate, you have to practice. the more opportunities that you have to practice, the faster you can learn a language.
And also they have different levels also, English. You know, the English levels are different in each, you know, person who needs to learn.
Can you speak a little bit more about that? Is that Fabiana?
Yes, well, I say because my own experience. I was in ESL class and I was trying always desperate to learn, right, the English language. And then once I went there and they say your expectation of English are too high. You already speak English, but I know I need to learn more because there's some stuff that I can say or I couldn't say before. It was before, years ago. So that's what I say. It's very important, one-one, you know, one-to-one to teach and to learn because the levels are different. And as you say before, it's just if you go to a class and they teach you ABC or they teach you the days of the week or the numbers, they don't need that. What they need is to communicate at work, you know.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
I make a comment?
Sure. Who is that? Is that
Curtis,
Curtis?
yeah.
Mhm.
But I think the students, what do you think about student personality or learning styles? How does that come into play? Because I think that, I mean, ideally, the students would get learning based on how they learn. But if we just have to choose these two styles here, I think maybe some students would benefit from the one teacher, well, the teacher being the leader or whatever, and then some students would prefer the small groups. So what do you think about that? Rather than what's happening? Everything is one style fits all or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe a hybrid of both, depending on the student. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So these two examples are more of philosophies that the instructor has in terms of their approach to teaching. And you know, when you're working one-on-one with a student, that does not necessarily mean it's just going to be teacher-led the whole time, right? It depends on like where you're coming from. If you're coming from, you know, teaching and learning as I am the teacher, I have all the information, and I'm going to tell you what to do. And you know, you have to learn these specific grammar forms. Then that's not going to work in a language learning classroom.
Exactly, language learning. Yeah.
Over here on the left, and again, it doesn't necessarily have to look like this in the classroom. Like it doesn't have to be these groups of students are, you know, like this, and then the teacher's walking around. It's more of a philosophy that you have coming into it. And the philosophy is that I have to learn about what my students need first. And then I have to try and give them those needs.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher has a bird's eye view approach.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
just chips in every now and then to see where the weaknesses are.
And it, you know, if you're working with someone one-on-one, you might be constantly communicating with them.
I
You
think
know.
it's the best way. May I add something? When I was learning English, and I was the teacher at front and all the students, you know, I was writing and the teacher say, I don't want you to be a writer. You need to speak. So that's why the method of one-on-one is very helpful if you want to learn a language. Because sometimes you feel embarrassed to speak something that is wrong, you know, in front of everybody. So I guess one-on-one will be, at least to me, it was a better method to learn the language.
I was also, I just also read something about teaching, and it said a great way to do something with teaching is to say, I do, we do, then you do. So that you model it, then you do it together, and then you let them do it on their own, and they can actually understand. Because I think sometimes with the student-centered learning, in my experience, I'm a high school teacher, and if you pair students with someone who is not at their level, it's a problem, because then somebody's losing out and it doesn't go the way, like, I think that was Fabiana's point, is, that sometimes we need the teacher to model what we want first, and then, but find out what their needs are and model those needs. So
Yeah, and that is still applicable in student-centered learning. The modeling approach that you mentioned, I do, we do, you do. So in student-centered learning, that can still happen. It doesn't necessarily, again, it's not always just that the students work together and then the teacher is never there, or the teacher is not modeling. That's not what student-centered learning is trying to say. The teacher still models. The teacher still says, okay, I do, and then we do, and then you do. That is very much indicative of student-centered learning, is knowing what the students need, right? The students need to see a model of how it's done, and then I have to support them, and then maybe they'll do it in groups, and then maybe they'll be able to do it individually. Whereas in teacher-centered learning, it might just look like, I tell you this, and then you go ahead, and that's it.
Hey, Robert, can I just throw in one thought?
Yeah.
This is Suzanne. I used to volunteer when we two boys who went through Boy Scouts. And they both attended a leadership training course, and they learned the concept of group dynamics and individual learning. And they used these 4 words: forming, storming, norming, and performing. And especially with group dynamics, you see that where in the beginning, you're excited, you're jazzed, you're ready to learn. And then you go through a period where you might be frustrated. And then suddenly it all starts coming together and you're norming. And then in the end, you're learning that new skill and performing it. So whether it's student-centered, especially with student-centered learning, what I like about that approach is that you can respond to that continuum that the student might be going through. Just an observation.
Yeah, I think it definitely allows you to see the different stages of learning better. And I think that a clearer way to look at these two approaches is just that on the left, you constantly have your students in mind, and what their learning styles are in mind, and what the different stages of learning that they'll have to go through. Whereas on the right, it's more just like, I'm coming in here, I am going to tell you to do this, and if you can't learn it, then then that's not my fault. So yeah, and maybe it's some of it is just like semantics, but I think it's really important to keep in mind that when we are approaching trying to help our students, the first thing we have to keep in mind is our students, who they are, and what their needs are. And so that leads us to our mission statement activity. I want you can write like 1 or 2 paragraphs, write about how you're going to find out what your students' goals and needs might be, and then how you can help foster a student-centered learning environment, right? And even though these examples, these 2 images show a class of students, you can still conduct student-centered learning, in a one-on-one setting. Again, it's the mindset that you're coming in with that makes it student-centered learning. So how can you foster that with your learner? So you can either write it down on a piece of paper right now and then type it up later and post it into our Google Classroom, or you can go directly to our Google Classroom and post it there. If you haven't seen the Google Classroom yet, you'll have to open up your web browser and type in classroom.google.com. Some of you have already joined, but if you haven't joined, you have to you have to click on the add sign, click join class, and then you have to type in your class code. And then once you type in your class code, you can click join, and then you'll see all the modules. So the class code is this right here, 6374C74.
Uh-oh.
And I'll put that in the chat for us. Right. If you don't have the class code, or if you haven't joined yet, please write down the class code right now, so then you can try joining. Because I'm gonna exit this and I'm gonna show everyone how to submit the mission statement. Okay, does everyone have the class code written down somewhere, or at least join the class? Okay, I see some heads nodding, great.
Yes.
So the first thing you'll do once you get to our Google Classroom page is you're gonna click on classwork. If you're using a computer, it's at the very top. If you're using a mobile device, it's at the bottom. And every time you go to our Google Classroom, make sure you click classwork first, and that will actually lead you to where all the assignments are. And then you'll see introduction to course, that's the topic name. And under that, you'll see some posts, right? And then the mission statement is at the bottom. So you'll click on mission statement. You'll click view assignment. All right. And then you'll see the instructions here. You can either type in your mission statement into the class comment, or there's another way to do it. Your screen is not going to look like this, but for you at the top right, there should be a way for you to open up a Google Doc and type in your mission statement in there as well.
I can't. I don't know where that is.
Let me try and do it with another account, and I'll see if I can show you. All right, so once you open up mission statement and you click on view assignment, you'll see at the top right, it says add or create.
Yes.
Right, click on that. And then once you click on that, some options will pop up. So you're gonna click create new docs. Right. Once you click create new docs, just wait and it'll create it for you. And then the document's gonna pop up. And then you can type it in directly here. So and the great thing about the Google Doc is that it's constantly saving, right? It'll tell you saved to drive, and you don't have to save it ever. It just constantly saves your progress for you. And then once you're done, just make sure you go back to the assignment page and you click turn in. And once you click turn in, it'll confirm it for you. It'll say turned in. Your work is turned in. If you need to work on it again, just open up the doc again, and you can continue writing in it. Oops. Actually, you have to click unsubmit first. You have to unsubmit it. And then you can continue writing in it again.
Robert, this is Heather. You want us to do that right now? I'm sorry. I was so focused on trying to get into that.
Yeah. If you can, that'd be great.
I can't get into, I think I need to leave the meeting to do that. It doesn't allow me to do anything.
So you don't have to leave the meeting. If you make your Zoom screen smaller,
Okay, I'm doing it right now.
No, this is not working.
For those of you who can't access the Google Classroom right now and access the mission statement assignment, you can just write it on a piece of paper right now and then just stay on for a few extra minutes, and then I can help troubleshoot for you.
So when you want to add or create, will it if you start typing Delaware County Literacy, will it automatically connect you, or? Because I pressed on add or create and it has like Google Drive, link, file, create, new docs. I don't know. Yeah. So
yeah. Click docs.
Doc?
Okay. Click docs.
Okay, I'm in docs and it says turn in. Do I press that? I'm not in Delaware County, but I'm in docs.
Oh, no. Yeah, you should just see docs.
Okay.
This is my name from my computer, so that's why it says that.
What do you press after it's got, I'm in Google Docs?
And then you just start typing up your mission statement.
Under class comments or?
So you can either do it here in class comments, or once you're in docs, right? When you open up your docs, a page like this will pop up.
All right, hold on. Turn in. Okay. Wait.
Do you see, like, once you open up docs?
Yeah, it has that mission statement, Google Docs.
Uh-huh.
And then when I press on that.
And then you should be able to start typing.
Okay. Okay. Now I got it.
Yeah. And this is where you'll type in your mission statement. All right, so I'm gonna give everybody 8 minutes. If you've already started, that's awesome. If you haven't been able to access the mission statement assignment in Google Classroom, don't worry. Just start writing out your mission statement on a piece of paper, and then I'll help you out later.
All right, nothing is being keyed into my mission statement. No.
Did you click turn in?
Yeah, that's how I got to this page.
Oh, okay, so don't click turn in yet. You gotta type up your mission statement before you click turn in. So if you go back to the original page, the mission statement page, click unsubmit.
Okay, hold on.
Robert, you want us to use these 2 questions as the guides for our mission statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
I end up. Okay, now it's doing it. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Mine should be all set, Robert.
Perfect. Thank you.
Wait, so this class code thing, I don't need that, right?
You don't need it anymore. Once you've entered in the classroom, you don't need to use the class code anymore. So Suzanne, I see that you've got some text in your document. Shauna, I see that you've got some text in your document. Heather, Karika, I see you've got some text.
Robert, I'm creating more of like a mission action plan than a concise statement. Do you want me to pull it back and do more of a statement?
Oh yeah, that's what that's what I did.
It's totally up to you for this assignment. This assignment is just to help us get accommodated with turning in assignments in the Google Classroom.
Okay. Then I'll keep going where I'm going.
Yeah, I was about to say, I
Where the
definitely wrote a
muses
book
are
in there.
taking me.
I forgot it said statement, so you were looking for like 1 or 2 sentences, like, oh well.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm not going to do a proposal or anything.
If you write a 3-page paper, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Hey, I was gonna do that, but nah.
At least it'll let me know more about who you are.
Oh, okay.
So I see Karen and Curtis, you've submitted. Rich, you've submitted. Has anyone had any trouble logging into Google Classroom?
Robert,
Yes.
I can get into Google Classroom. I already have one set up, but I can't get into Wallet County. I can't remember the fundamentals of ESL tutoring. I don't remember how to do that.
Okay. Do you?
So, hold on, there we go. So I can just go into my Google account, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then what do I do?
And then you should see a Are you in Google Classroom?
I'm under my sign-on, Linda Blaskovich for Google Classroom.
And then you should see a plus sign.
Hold on, let me totally get into it. No, I'm not seeing the plus sign.
I just turned it in. I don't know if, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I see Shauna, Sally, and Heather. You've all turned it in. Okay. Linda, if you
I figured it out. I'm getting in right now.
okay, perfect. If you haven't been able to get into the Google Classroom, or if you're struggling with turning in the assignment or typing it in, just stick around for a few extra minutes after we're done, and I'll help troubleshoot for you. I'll give everybody 2 more minutes.
I got it. I wrote it up. I'll put it in after we're done, okay?
Okay, great.
Rather than take up any more time now. But I'm in.
Robert, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so it's Suzanne. So I just finished my statement. Do I go to turn in or share?
Turn in.
Okay.
Robert, did I do it right? I just did it, but I don't know if did I turn in my statement? This is Fabiana.
Okay. Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Wow, you guys are all super excellent. My last group was nowhere nearly as tech savvy as you guys are.
Robert, I think I turned it in.
Okay, and who's this speaking?
Anna.
Anna? Okay, let me. Yep, I see it. Okay, so I've got Anna, Karika, Melissa, Heather, Shauna, Rich. I see a Dr. J. Do we have a Dr. J here? Fabiana, Karen, Diamond, Curtis. Who's Dr. J?
That's Julius Irving, NBA player. No, just kidding.
I didn't know he's joining us today.
Do you not
Yeah,
see
yeah.
mine?
Yeah, some free time.
Do
Is
you
it
not see mine? Oh.
Huh?
You said
Wait.
you got it.
Rita, are you Dr. J? Wait, Rita, you just muted yourself. Okay. What were you saying, Rita?
Okay, it's my husband's.
Okay, okay.
So
Got it.
just it's who's long dead, but it's so just say Rita.
Okay. Got it. All right, perfect.
Get mine, Linda Blaskovich.
Okay. Linda, I see that you've joined our class.
You don't see the assignment?
No, not so far.
I just found Linda's assignment. I stumbled on it. It was under comment.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, I see it now, Linda. I see it. Okay. All right, perfect, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna explain a little bit about the process for using our Google Classroom. So when you are using Google Classroom, you'll see 3 main icons. The first icon is a book with a bookmark, and these are all materials for you to read and review. They contain texts and videos for you to watch. So make sure you do that first. All right, look through the materials first. And then the other 2 icons are assignments that you have to complete. So the first one is like a clipboard, and that requires you to submit something. So in this case, it's a quiz. And then the second one is a question mark, and that requires you to comment. And so again, make sure you do it in this order. First, you go through and review all the materials, and then you complete the assignments and questions. Right. So I'm gonna go to the Google Classroom so you can see more clearly what I mean by that. All right. And again, every time you go to Google Classroom, make sure you click on classwork at the top. Right. And I've organized it so that you should be going through things from top to bottom. So you'll see the first part is introduction to course. And that's where I have, our orientation slides for today. I've got the due dates for the different assignments posted here. All right, and then there's also there's also 2 guides in case you get lost or forget how to submit an assignment. You'll see that there are guides for how to navigate it. And you can always email me and ask me too. So feel free to do that. This is my job. I get paid to do this, so don't feel like you're bothering me. And then the second part are all the theory related topics. So again, make sure you go from top down to bottom. And then there are practice related. So these are more about teaching practice modules. All right, so again, go from top to bottom and just work your way down. It looks like quite a bit, but it really doesn't require that much work. Whenever you turn in a response, I'm just asking for a paragraph. Right? You don't have to write a page or 3 pages, just a quick paragraph response. And feel free to respond to other people's responses. And every now and then go back and see what other people have written, and just to get some fresh ideas off of each other. Currently, you can't see everything. Currently, you're just able to see the theory-related modules. So I want you to complete those first. In a few days, the other modules will open up for you, and you'll be able to see the other ones. All right. Any questions? All right, so no questions. If you have questions later, feel free to send me an email, or you can even actually post something, in Google Classroom. Just be like, question, and then type in your question, and then click post, and then I'll be able to see it, and then all the other participants will also be able to see it. And the nice thing about posting your question here is that if you have a question, I'm sure someone else has the same question or a similar question. And so if I can answer it here, then everyone also gets to see the answer too. Okay. And with that being said, I'm going to talk about the next steps, right? So after our meeting today, we've all joined the Google Classroom. Again, if you're having trouble joining it or submitting assignments, just stick on for a few extra minutes and I'll help troubleshoot. When you're going through the Google Classroom, if you're lost, just click classwork at the top, right? Classwork, and it'll bring you back to the home page. Go through all the modules. You'll have 3 weeks to go through the modules. If you do like one every couple of days, you'll be on pace to completing them by the next time we meet. So our final face-to-face session is going to be October 31st. We're going to talk about, lesson planning. All right, you'll work together in a group, and you're going to develop a lesson plan. We'll talk a little bit about how to use Zoom with your learners. And it seems like a lot of you already have a lot of experience with that, so that's great. And then I'll show you an example of an ESL online book that you can use. It's by Cambridge University and it's called Ventures. So that's what we're going to do on October 31st. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining us today on your Saturday. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the learners that we serve. You are our volunteers, and our agency is, built by volunteers and run by volunteers like you. So thank you so much for contributing to our collective community and helping the betterment, of society and your fellow human beings. Again, if you have any trouble with anything, don't hesitate to contact me. This is my email address. This is my personal cell phone number, so you can also text me as well. So thank you so much. If you have any questions or need help logging into Google Classroom, just stay on and I'll help you. All right then.
Thanks, Robert. Nice
Thank
to meet all of
you.
you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Good to meet everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Good luck with this.
Yeah.
See you in the classroom.
Excuse me, Robert,
Yes.
did you receive my mission statement?
Let me check.
I'm Taryn. is Perrin, by the way.
Yeah. Hi,
Sorry.
Perrin. Let me check. Yes, I did.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too. Have a good weekend.